The life and sad ending of Paul Lynde. Paul Edward Lynde was born June 13, 1926, in Mount Vernon, Ohio, the son of Sylvia Bell and Hoy Corden Lynde, who owned and operated a meat market. Fifth born among 6 siblings, Lynde had older sisters Grace and Helen, older brothers Richard Hoy and Corydon George, and younger brother John. His favorite brother, Corydon, died in 1944 at the age of 21 at the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. 5 years later, in 1949, his parents died within 3 months of one another. Lynde graduated from Mount Vernon High School in 1944, where he played the bass drum in its high school band. He then studied speech and drama at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, where his classmates included Cloris Leachman, Charlotte Ray, Patricia Neal, Jeffrey Hunter, and Claude Akins. At Northwestern, he was active in the school's theatrical productions and joined the Upsilon chapter of the fraternity Phi Kappa Sigma. He is listed among its most famous members. He graduated in 1948 and moved up to New York City, taking odd jobs while looking for his show business break. His first appearance as a stand-up comic was at the famed Supper Club, No. 1 Fifth Avenue. Lynde made his Broadway debut in the hit revue New Faces of 1952, in which he co-starred with fellow newcomers Eartha Kitt, Robert Clary, Alice Ghostley, and Carol Lawrence. In his monologue from that revue, The Trip of the Month Club, Lynde portrayed a man on crutches recounting his misadventures on the African safari he took with his late wife. The show was filmed and released as New Faces in 1954. After the revue's run, Lynde co-starred in the short-lived 1956 sitcom Stanley, opposite Buddy Hackett and Carol Burnett, both of whom were also starting their careers in show business. That year, he guest-starred on NBC's sitcom The Martha Raye Show. Lynde returned to Broadway in 1960, where he was cast as Harry MacAfee, the father in Bye Bye Birdie. He also played the role in the 1963 film adaptation. That year, he recorded a live album, recently released, issued as an LP record. All 6 tracks were written by him. Once he could afford writers, he rarely used his own material until his tenure on the Hollywood Squares years later. Lynde was in great demand in the 1960s. During the 1961-62 television season, he was a regular on NBC's The Perry Como Show as part of the Kraft Music Hall Players with Don Adams, Kay Ballard, and Sandy Stewart. He was a familiar face on many sitcoms, including The Phil Silvers Show, The Patty Duke Show, The Munsters, The Flying Nun, Gidget, I Dream of Jeannie, F Troop, and a variety of shows such as The Ed Sullivan Show and The Dean Martin Show. He also was featured in a number of 1960s films, including Send Me No Flowers and The Glass Bottom Boat, both starring Doris Day. Lynde's best-known sitcom role was on Bewitched. In 1965, Lynde made his debut appearance on Bewitched during the first season episode Driving is the Only Way to Fly. His role as mortal Harold, Samantha Stevenson's nervous driving instructor, was well received by viewers. Lynde also impressed series star Elizabeth Montgomery and her husband, director-producer William Asher, who created a recurring role for Lynde as in Dora's practical joking brother, Uncle Arthur. Lynde made 10 appearances on Bewitched as the beloved character, the first being The Joker is a Card. The air date for that episode was October 14th, 1965. His final appearance in the sitcom was in The House That Uncle Arthur Built, February 11th, 1971. In the series' 7th season, Lynde, Montgomery, and Asher became good friends and were regularly seen together off the set. In 1966, Lynde debuted on the fledgling game show The Hollywood Squares and quickly became its iconic guest star. Eventually, he assumed a permanent spot in the center square, a move that ensured he would be called upon by contestants at least once in almost every round. Despite an urban legend to the contrary, Lynde remained in the center at the producer's discretion. Appearing a total of 707 times, Lynde garnered considerable fame and wealth from the series. Lynde eventually became disenchanted with being what he called boxed into Hollywood squares, and he departed the series in 1979. In voice acting between 1969 and 73, Lynde did extensive voice work on animated cartoons, particularly those of Hanna-Barbera Productions. In 1972, Lynde starred in short-lived ABC sitcom The Paul Lynde Show. The series was a contractual fulfillment to ABC in place of an aborted 9th season of Bewitched. Lynde starred as Paul Sims, an uptight attorney and father who was at odds with his liberal-minded son-in-law. Critics perceived the show as a derivative of All in the Family, television's then most popular primetime program, although many admitted the writing was top-notch and the sexual connotations gave it an extra bit of spice. Lynde was nominated for Best Actor, Golden Globe for the show. Scheduled opposite the first half of the Top 30 hit, The Carol Burnett Show on CBS, and the Top 20 hit Adam 12 on NBC, the series garnered low ratings and was canceled after a single season. Then, Lynde was a fixture on the Kinley Players summer stock theater circuit, appearing in Don't Drink the Water, 1970 and 1979, The Impossible Years, 1969 and 1978, Mother is Engaged, 1974, My Daughter is Rated X, 1973, Plaza Suite, 1971, and Stop Thief Stop, 1975. In all, he appeared in 9 Kinley Players productions, more than any other headliner. Lynde's continuing popularity led to his being signed by ABC to host a series of specials from 1975 to 1979, including the Paul Lynde Comedy Hour, the Paul Lynde Halloween Special, and Paul Lynde at the Movies. Lynde was a regular guest on the variety show Donnie and Marie between 1976 and 1978, until he lost his guest starring role to very public drunk arguments with police officers. Acting jobs continued to be scarce for Lynde, although it is unclear whether or not this was related to his alcoholism, which made him difficult to work with. As demand for his services declined, he accepted a wider variety of job offers. In the 1979 comedy The Villain, he appeared as Indian Chief Nervous Elk alongside former Bye Bye Birdie co-star Anne Margaret. This was his final film role. Back in 1976, at the 6th Annual American Guild of Variety Artists Entertainer of the Year Awards, Lynde received an award for being voted the funniest man of the year. In his personal life, despite his campy and flamboyant television persona, his sexual inclination and orientation, to the much surprise of everyone, was an open secret. Though he never publicly announced or acknowledged, it is fervently said that he was gay. Lynde struggled with alcoholism and had numerous run-ins with the law, including frequent arrests for public intoxication. Peter Marshall and Kay Ballard confirmed that Lynde, when inebriated, was quite cruel and would sometimes ridicule his friends. Determined to get his life back on track, Lynde became sober and drug-free in early 1980. Sadly, on January 10, 1982, after Lynde failed to attend a birthday celebration, friend Paul Baresi became concerned. When he and another friend, actor Dean Dittman, could not get an answer after calling him on the phone and knocking on his door, Baresi broke into the side entrance of Lynde's home in Beverly Hills, California, and found him dead in his bed. He was 55 years old. The coroner ruled the death as a heart attack. Lynde's cremated remains are interred at Amity Cemetery in Amity, Knox County, Ohio.